Let's talk about a feeling that has become the background noise of our lives. You know the one, that constant, nagging sense that everything is urgent. We're going to dive in and figure out why that is, even when, deep down, we know it's not true. It starts pretty much the second you open your eyes, right? Before you've even had a chance to think. You glance at your phone and bam, there it is. That feeling of urgency is already waiting for you. It's like the default setting for modern life. And it's fed by this constant stream of pings and buzzes. Each one is like a tiny demand, a little tap on the shoulder from the digital world, just pulling your focus away from whatever it was you were trying to do. And that's the real kicker, isn't it? The immediacy. It doesn't feel like a suggestion. It feels like a command, a demand that you stop what you're doing, look, and respond this very second. So this is the big question we've got to ask. Is that email for marketing really as urgent as the calendar reminder for a big meeting? Or has something completely warped our perception of what actually matters? Okay, so first off, let's just get this out of the way. It's not just you. This feeling of constant urgency is a shared experience. It's this sense that you're always playing catch up in a game that just never seems to end. It's this exhausting cycle, right? You see a ping, you react. You finish that, and whoops, there's another one. You're constantly putting out these little fires, but you never get a chance to step back and think because the alerts, they just keep on coming. So, how does this actually happen? Well, it turns out our attention gets locked into something we can call a reaction loop. And it's an automatic process that happens so fast you don't even realize you're on autopilot. Look at how simple this loop is. It all starts with a signal, a buzz, a ping, a little red dot. And without a second thought, we react. We check the phone, we open the email, and just like that, whatever we were deeply focused on in that state of flow is completely gone, shattered. And this right here, this is the core of the problem. That reaction loop is almost always triggered by stuff that feels urgent. Things screaming for your attention now. But here's the thing. Those are rarely the important things. The deep work, the big projects, the stuff that actually moves you toward your real goals. And this leads us to an even bigger problem. When you spend all day trapped in that reaction loop, this weird thing starts to happen. You actually start to lose the ability to tell the difference between what's important and what's just loud. I mean, just look at this breakdown. This is where most of our mental energy is going. A staggering 85% of our attention is spent just reacting. That leaves this tiny sliver for the kind of focused work that actually makes a difference. Our attention is basically being hijacked by the urgent. So what ends up happening is this constant sense of urgency flattens everything out. A random group chat notification starts to feel just as significant as a major deadline, because they're both screaming for your attention at the exact same time. Now, you might be thinking this is just a personal problem, a lack of discipline. But what if I told you this feeling isn't an accident at all? In fact, it's a feature. It's by design. See, we are all living inside of what are called attention systems. These are the apps, the platforms, the tools we use every single day. And their main goal isn't to help you focus. No, it's to capture your attention as often and as quickly as possible. And this is the engine that drives the whole thing. Urgency makes you click, it makes you react, it makes you engage. And that action, your action, is what powers these platforms. It keeps you scrolling, it keeps you watching, it keeps the entire system humming. Your feeling of urgency, that's their fuel. So let's pull all of this together. Now that we can see this system behind the feeling, we can finally understand where all this pressure is really coming from. So here's the big takeaway. You don't feel like everything's urgent because it actually is. You feel this way because your attention is being relentlessly triggered by this constant flood of signals and interruptions. And all that creates a perceived pressure that feels incredibly real. It's an external force, not some internal flaw. And that brings us to one last thought. Just take a second and really think about this. If you could reclaim your attention from this endless cycle of manufactured urgency, what would you do with it? What kind of important work, what deep thinking, what real connection could you make space for? The first step is just seeing the system for what it is.